Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of the website sciencewriter.net from the Black Hills of South Dakota, United States of America. I'd like to talk just a little bit about surge protectors again. That seems to be the term that's used. Surge protector. Well, it protects your equipment against what they call surges. Actually, it's a transient voltage surge, or the technical term is a transient, and it suppresses it or shorts it out to ground. A transient suppressor is the correct terminology for this type of thing. But anyway, what it does is it supposedly protects your equipment against the destructive effects of voltage spikes on your AC utility line. But that depends on something. Now let's just take a look at the schematic symbol for a 3-wire electrical outlet. Basically, this is the symbol. This lower prong or third prong in the plug should go to, well, I believe ideally not a chassis ground. That would be an earth ground somewhere in your house, the ground of your house electrical system. This is the neutral wire right here. And that's the hot wire. That's where the 117 volts AC nominally in the United States at 60 hertz should appear. The neutral should be grounded to the same ground connection as the third prong is. But here's the rub. This is a properly connected outlet. Sometimes, though, in old houses like mine was built in 1940. And it had a 2-wire electrical system. Back in those days, they didn't have this. They just had this. Well, someone went ahead and installed a 3-prong outlet in this. Well, in a lot of the different outlets in my house, they replaced these 2-prong outlets with 3-prong outlets. But they didn't bother to connect that third prong to anything. Now, a surge suppressor or a transient suppressor device needs a substantial ground in order to properly function. It has to divert those spikes to ground. That's the way most of them work. So if there's a sudden spike on your AC line, the surge suppressor will divert that or short it out to ground. But if that ground isn't there, if that ground is somehow missing and there's nothing connected to that, to this third prong there, then, well, you've got yourself a problem. Your surge suppressor isn't going to work. And some surge suppressors have a little light on there that will light up if your ground is correct, or in some cases it will light up if you have a ground fault. That's what this is called, by the way. A ground fault. It's a faulty ground or a non-existent ground. Well, what are you going to do? Well, there's a couple things you can do. In the case of my upstairs attic workstation, which has outlets that are bogus like this, I ran a wire all the way from the cold water pipe system in my house, which is connected directly to the earth ground that the electrical system is, all the way up from the garage in the basement level up to this attic level, and connected it to that third prong where the surge suppressor is. And when I test it, I see that in fact the ground light is on, indicating that it's working properly, or the ground indicator on that thing tells me that it's working properly. Some surge suppressors have these lights, Some do not. You should get one that does, because if it tells you that you don't have a ground, you might as well not even bother to put that surge suppressor in there. So, now in my main level office, I just discovered there are more of these bogus outlets. And my laser printer in my attic runs down to the main level office for reasons of power distribution. It's an old laser printer, and I've got to distribute the loads among the circuits in the house or I'll trip the breakers. It's a big old Sherman tank of a printer. I just printed on it, by the way. It's a 15-year-old printer. Still working good. Hewlett-Packard, congratulations. You make good printers. HP makes good printers. Well, they did in 1999. Anyway. So the point is now I've either got to run a wire up from the garage to this ground prong before I put a surge suppressor in there to this laser printer, or I might want to try to and find out if this neutral here actually goes to the electrical ground system in the house, because if it does, all I need to do is just connect a little shorting wire like that between the neutral and the ground pin. I did that with my generator working on when the furnace was working off the generator. It told me there was a ground fault because the generator has a floating neutral. I had to force ground the neutral from the third prong. The same little wire, same little jumper, but doing the opposite duty. The point being that you need some kind of a substantial ground here if you want this surge suppressor to work. If you don't have it, it's not going to work. So that's the deal, and I'm going to figure out what to do exactly. There is another option, and that is I could just let this printer go on without having any surge protection, because it's gone on like that for years and years and years. I've never connected a surge suppressor to this printer, and it's still going strong after 15 years. It's like one of those satellite or one of those space probes that goes on for forever and ever. When it's expected to last for 3 or 4 years, goes on for decades, So I figure, hey, look, if you're 110 years old, are you going to worry about cholesterol? If you're a 15-year-old printer, you're going to worry about surges? I don't think so. So I don't know. I'm just really curious, though, to see whether or not that neutral is actually connected to the ground in the house. Because if it is, all I got to do is put that little jumper in there. Otherwise, I got to run a wire all the way up from the garage, or else just let this good old venerable Hewlett-Packard printer take its chances in this fickle universe. Stan Gibilisco, proprietor and operator of the website sciencewriter.net. Go to my Amazon.com link author page. It's linked from my website, and you can explore to your heart's content, see if any of the books there might interest you. Until next time, so long.